Welcome to your daily dose of sci-fi adventures. New stories dropped every single day. Smash that subscribe button and ring the to help us reach 1,000 subscribers and unlock even more epic cosmic tales.
The wind on Orbis Prime was a restless thing, an unending howl across red dunes that shifted like scarlet waves under the twin suns. At the heart of the arid continent of Ceramus lay the city of Helios, its spires of pale ivory glass gleaming by day and illuminating the horizon at night. It was here, in the cavernous halls of the Helios Museum, that the greatest enigma of the galaxy languished in near oblivion. The Cairn monolith the discovery and the descent into obscurity nearly 4 centuries ago. Prospectors drilling for lithium veins uncovered a strange obelisk half buried beneath the sands just outside the polar thaw zone. The artifact, towering over 15 meters, hewn from a metallic substance unknown to any laboratory, was swiftly transported to Helios. Initial excitement had reached fever pitch. Was this the long-lost relic of a vanished civilization, the herald of first contact? For 2 decades, scholars, xenolinguists, and physicists clamored to decipher the labyrinthine glyphs etched into the monolith's surface. Conferences convened in ivory towers. Governments vied for access. Rumors of alien warnings and cosmic maps spread like wildfire through academies of thought. And then, inexplicably, the fervor receded. Funding dried up, research grants were slashed, and the monolith fell victim to the bureaucratic inertia that so often chokes great discoveries. By the late 2820s, the monolith was consigned to display. Room K12, artifacts of questionable utility, where it stood behind thick, dust-streaked glass panels. Small plaques offered tepid description. Unknown origin. Sample acquired 2,458 AAL. No practical applications identified. School groups filed past, their teachers whispering instructions not to linger. Tourists took pictures, oblivious to the resonance that pulsed faintly beneath their feet. The girl who heard in silence Mira Avanes had never seen a sunrise, nor did she mourn the absence of it. Firestorms had robbed her sight in infancy, and by the time her mind first reached outward, the world existed only through sound and touch. To her, the galaxy was a collage of vibrations and echoes, an interplay of tactile impressions, the smooth curve of a pebble, the low rumble of a freight shuttle overhead, the rhythmic footfalls in a corridor raised in a sheltered enclave of Helios. Mira's tutors trained her in rail astrocartography, vibration-sensing gloves, and echolocation, techniques that allowed her to navigate crowded street markets by the hum of hovercarts and the murmur of haggling voices. Yet her true passion lay in museums' quiet sanctuaries, where she could focus on the singular resonance of an object, free from the clamoring distractions of city life. On the morning of Corroded Skies Festival, when half the populace reveled in holographic fireworks marking the planet's colonization anniversary, Myra stole away to the Helios Museum. She loved visiting on such busy days when galleries emptied and she could wander unhindered. Today, she carried with her a worn leather pouch of microvibration, sensors, tiny devices she'd assembled herself to record the subtlest hums in metal artifacts. A corridor of forgotten wonders. Corridor K was nondescript, walls of pale alloy, overhead lights that hummed in an antiseptic tone, and display cases that gleamed but held only dusty odds and ends. Myra's fingertips brushed over the glass of cases containing ancient mining tools, decorative vases chipped by time, and even a plaque commemorating an extinct desert species of burrowing insect. All were mute to her sensors, no hidden pulse, no secret resonance. She paused before the final case, a towering obelisk whose surface shimmered dimly under the museum's lighting. She halted a hand's breadth away, letting the microvibration sensors sing into her palm. They recorded a faint, irregular pulse, like a distant heartbeat echoing through stone. Myra's smile touched her lips. This was what she'd felt. In half-dreams for months, a gentle draw, a pulse calling across space and time. "Curious," she whispered, her voice soft enough to startle only herself. The plaque at the base read, "Cthron Monolith. Date, unknown. Origin, extraterrestrial." Beneath it, a symbol in infinite spiral hinted at meaning no one yet comprehended. The glass unlocks itself. Myra extended a gloved fingertip and pressed it against the glass. Her sensors tickled with anticipation. Then she heard it, a soft click, so faint she almost thought her mind was playing tricks. The front panel of the display case slid open, as if invited. No lock, no guard, no security. Override required. Myra's pulse thundered in her ears, each beat synchronized with the monolith's gentle pulse. She hesitated a moment, inhaling the cool museum air, then stepped forward. Her cane tapped once against the floor to test the ground. No alarm klaxons, no. Startled shouts from guards. The corridor lay silent, as if holding its breath. The first contact reaching out, Myra touched the monolith's surface. The alloy was cool, smoother than any metal she'd felt, but beneath her skin warmed to a comfortable heat. A cascade of sensation flooded her mind. A tapestry of voices, soft, harmonious, and achingly familiar. They spoke not in words, but in chords of feeling. Curiosity, welcome. Urgency. Without warning. A blinding warmth radiated through her arm, and her microvibration sensors began registering a complex oscillation pattern. Pitch shifted, tone modulated, weaving across the spectrum. Mira's eyes remained closed, but she sensed a riot of color behind her eyelids. Deep indigos that pulsed into aquamarine, gold streaks that flickered like dying stars, and threads of emerald green spiraling outward. The glyphs under her fingertips felt like ridges on a record, each groove resonating with a specific frequency. The monolith was singing, and Mira was the only one attuned enough to hear it. In an awakening and a warning in the theater of her mind. A vision unfolded. A vast city of crystalline towers perched on the edge of a violet sea, where tall, slender figures glided through streets afloat on streams of light. She heard their voices as a chorus. "Daughters of darkness shall see the light. She who knows not sight shall be our guide." An ache equal parts sorrow and hope thrummed in her chest. A sudden tremor rattled the corridor. Lights flickered overhead, and the monolith's glow intensified, veins of pale blue tracing the ancient glyphs. The air vibrated in resonance, and Myra felt the walls hum in reply. Then, as abruptly as it began, the pulse subsided, the monolith's glow dulled. The voices faded into distant echoes. Myra withdrew her hand, breathless. The glass panel slid shut behind her, sealing the relic once more. She stood alone in the corridor, clutching her sensors, mind reeling from the encounter. Shadows stir moments later. A guard rounded the corner, blaster at the ready. His eyes darted to the sealed case. "Intruder!" He barked, then froze when he recognized Myra's slender form. She's not armed," he stammered. Other guards appeared, their blasters raised, but lowered them in confusion when they saw her gentle posture. Her face lifted as if in wonder. At the head of the group, Dr. Halvard Corbin emerged from a sign office. His hair was streaked with gray, and lines of worry carved his brow. When he saw the glowing glyphs faintly pulsing beneath the glass, his lips parted in astonishment. "Myra?" he called. His voice trembled, half in relief, half in awe. "What have you done?" Myra looked up at him, her voice steady, though her heart thudded like a war drum. "I listened," she said. It spoke. The unseen horizon as they escorted her from Corridor K, the monolith's soft glow faded into the museum shadows. In Myra's mind, the chorus lingered, pressing on the walls of her consciousness. "Prepare. The storm approaches." Outside, the twin suns glared down on Helios oblivious to the awakening that had just occurred within its halls. In the centuries to come, scholars would debate every nuance of what happened that day. The inexplicable unlocking of the display case, the resonance felt by a blind girl, the visions that promised both salvation and peril. But for Mira Avanes, the world had irrevocably shifted. She carried within her a piece of alien memory, an echo of hope, a warning of doom, and a destiny as luminous as the colors she could not see. And as the wind howled across the sands, it seemed to whisper in affirmation. At last, someone had heard. The moment Myra's fingers brushed the Thran monolith, the world around her convulsed. The smooth alloy beneath her touch pulsed with life, as though the relic itself had been waiting dormant for centuries until her blind hand broke the yell. Final barrier. A surge of energy, a low, resonant hum filled the corridor, vibrating through the metal floor and seeping into Myra's bones. Her custom micro-vibration sensors, strapped to her wrist, flickered madly, registering frequencies far beyond any human-made device. The air thickened, shimmering with unseen currents, and a heat like gentle sunlight radiated from the GLYPHS. Myra staggered backward, her cane tapping frantically. Though her eyes saw only darkness, her mind brightened in every color imaginable. Incandescent golds that bathed her consciousness in warmth, deep violets that carried the weight of ancient sorrow, and flashes of emerald and cerulean that danced across her awareness. The corridor's antiseptic lights flickered, then dimmed under the monolith's glow. A sudden pulse-sharp, insistent snapped through Myra's arm. She gasped, startled by the sensation of thousands of whispers rushing into her mind. They spoke not in words, but in pure emotion. Urgency, welcome, warning. Each glyph she traced began to thrum at a distinct pitch, creating a symphony of alien resonance. Visions of the Aetherans behind her closed eyelids, visions burst into being. Mira found herself standing on a vast plateau under double moons, the air alive with multicolored auroras. Towering crystalline spires stretched toward the heavens, and slender, graceful figures drifted between them. Their skin shimmered like translucent pearl. Their movements were poetry in motion. She saw them harnessing starfire, plucking threads of solar wind and weaving them into tendrils of living light. Worlds bloomed and withered in moments. Galaxies spun like dancers, and through it all a celestial chorus echoed in her bones. She who knows not sight shall hear our legacy. A sharp crack jolted her back to the corridor. The monolith's veins of light intensified, fracturing into billions of tiny sparks that raced along its length. In that instant, a three-dimensional star chart materialized above the relic, a hologram so vivid that Mira felt the gravity of unknown suns tug at her heart. The hologram rotated, revealing clusters of star systems connected by filamentous corridors of luminous energy. One region, marked by a pulsing violet node, flared insistently. Even in the absence of vision, Mira sensed its position. High latitude, ice fields on Orbis Prime thousands of kilometers north of Helios. Fractured alarm. Two alarms sounded in rapid succession. A museum security klaxon and the panicked shouts of guards converging on Corridor K. Dr. Halvard. Corbin's voice cut through the chaos over the intercom. Seal the wing. Evacuate non-essential staff. The air filled with the staccato of armored boots. Myra dropped to one knee, her sensors still humming, and reached out to steady the monolith. Its surface rippled beneath her palm, as though urging her to stay. She sensed Dr. Corbin's presence before she heard his hurried footsteps. "Myra!" His voice was equal parts relief and dread. He knelt beside her, gently sliding her hand away. I'm sorry. I never intended." His words trailed off as he realized the monolith had already begun to recede into silence. The hologram winked out. The vibrations died back to a mere heartbeat, Guards flooded the corridor, weapons raised, faces tense. One officer barked, "Move her away from the artifact." Another shouted, "Contain it before it breaks containment." Dr. Corbin placed himself between Myra and the guards. "Stand down," he ordered, voice trembling. "She's the only one it responded to." The lead captain hesitated, eyes flicking between Myra's calm posture and the faint glow still lingering in the glyphs. Officers lowered their weapons, bewildered. The first extraction within minutes. A secure transport team had been assembled. Myra was guided, almost carried to a waiting hover van in the museum's underground bay. Dr. Corbin walked beside her, clutching a small, palm-sized shard he had pried from the monolith's base during the confusion. The shard thrummed in his gloved hand, a dying ember of the power Myra had unleashed. Inside the van's strobing blue lights, Myra pressed her palm against the shard's cool surface. Immediately, the vibrations reignited, though faintly like the dying heartbeat of a great machine. Through the shard, she felt the residue of her earlier visions. The crystalline cities, the procession of Trons, and the star chart pointing north. Dr. Corbin watched her with scientific awe. "You saw it," he said softly. "You saw their world." Myra nodded, though Corbin couldn't see. "And their warning. Something comes," he swallowed. "Agencies will want that shard. Militaries will want it. Corporations will want patents based on it." He glanced at the shard as though it might strike him. "I need to get you somewhere safe, somewhere they can't reach you easily." A hidden sanctuary by twilight, the transport van had traversed the dusty outskirts of Helios and slipped behind the walls of an abandoned research facility, a relic of Orbis Prime's early colonization days. Its reinforced dome, once intended to shield delicate bio-experiments from the harsh desert, now served as a hidden laboratory for Dr. Corbin's clandestine work. Inside, they found a ring of ancient Quran glyphs etched into the floor one. Of the many quixotic discoveries Corbin had made during his career, he believed these patterns formed a rudimentary interface capable of responding to the monolith signals. With trembling hands, he unfurled a tarp, revealing a circular pit lined with concentric rings of alien metal. "This is a power conduit," Corbin explained. "If we can integrate the shard here, we might be able to amplify its signal. At least stabilize it." Myra stood at the pit's edge, cane tapping the ground. Her fingers brushed the glyphs carved into the metal. The corridor's voice returned, distant but distinct. "Prepare the gateway." Corbin placed the shard in the pit's center. The glyphs beneath his feet shivered. The shard's surface glowed with the same pale blue veins as the monolith, and a gentle hum filled the dome, softer than in the museum, but steady. Myra closed her eyes and reached out with her mind, matching her heartbeat to the conduit's pulse. Slowly, the hum deepened, growing into a sonorous chord that resonated throughout the chamber. The glyph-patterned rings began to lift, rotating like planetary orbits, aligning themselves precisely around the shard. The echo of a promise. As the rings clicked into place, the temperature dropped. Ice crystals formed on the dome's interior, crystallizing into fractal patterns that glowed faintly under the shard's light. Myra felt the Athran presence calm now, expectant. A final vibration rippled through her chest. "We shall return. Guide them." The shard dimmed, its power spent. The rings settled into stillness. Myra opened her eyes. Corbin knelt beside her, all written across his face. "You did it," he whispered. "You made contact on your own terms." She touched his arm. "They chose me." Outside, the desert winds howled against the dome. Somewhere on the icy wastes to the north, the glowing monolith stood sentinel, waiting for the next touch. And within Myra's mind, the crown chorus lingered, a beacon for what was to come. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty and danger, but for the first time in her life, Myra Avanes felt true clarity. She had become the bridge between her world and the stars blind, yet guided by a light no eyes could see. The desert wind still howled behind them, carrying the last vestiges of Helios in its dust-laden breath. But Myra and Dr. Corbin had put as many kilometers between themselves and the abandoned dome as they could. Ahead lay the polar ice fields, thousands of kilometers of frozen wasteland crowned by the legendary polar citadel. It was their only hope. The flight north by midnight, the stolen hover shuttle drifted low over rippling dunes. Its fusion engines cast pale yellow halos on the sand, while twin searchlights cut through the darkness in broad, trembling arcs. Mira sat strapped into the co-pilot's seat, her lips pressed against the portable holodisplay Corbin had rigged to her tactile interface. The holographic star chart, projected in layered contours under her fingertips, wavered with each shudder of the craft. "They're close," Corbin muttered, checking the rear-view sonar. 2 Republic gunships and a V-23 corporate interceptor. Mira rested her hand on the shard embedded in the console. Its faint pulse had grown steadier since leaving the dome, as though nourished by distance from Helios. She let her fingers ride the rhythm. In her mind, the Thran chorus whispered, "Do not slow. Storm approaches." "Can you?" Corbin ventured. She closed her eyes. Through the shard's resonance, she felt the ice field's location, not just on the chart, but beneath the shifting snow. She guided the pilot's harness slightly starboard. "Turn 3 degrees, she said, voice calm but urgent. "Downdraft. Pocket ahead. We can drop under their sensors." As the shuttle dipped, a burst of antimatter tracer fire streaked past the starboard wing. Sparks erupted. Corbin yanked the controls. The craft lurched, then righted itself. Bleeding power, they dove into a swirling sandstorm. The cosmic maelstrom hours later, when the desert gave way to fringe glaciers. Mira sensed a new tremor in the shard. Not the monolith's living pulse, but something vast and orbital pulse, like the heartbeat of an entire solar system. Corbin, eyes glued to his console, translated her readings. "You're feeling the edge of the maelstrom," he said, voice hushed. "The Cthulhu warning. I think it refers to this interstellar storm front sweeping toward us. Its shockwave could strip atmosphere from worlds." Myra's fingers traced the holochart's overlay, a hazy spiral sweeping inward from the black of space toward Orbis Prime's orbit. "Days, maybe hours," she whispered. Corbin's jaw tightened. "Our window's closing. We have to get the shard to the Citadel before the next pulse hits." She nodded, closing her eyes to focus on the shard's cadence. Through its resonance, she felt the path and unseen current flowing beneath the yaw. Ice toward the Citadel's buried foundations. Ambushed in the ice, the hover shuttle set down on a flat of compressed snow. Corbin cut the engines. They slid forward on momentum until the assemblage of ice caves yawned before them. Mira stepped onto the snowdrift first, cane tapping tentatively. Each echo carried a metallic undertone, fractures in the ice, hidden crevasses. Corbin followed, carrying his backpack of equipment and the shard wrapped in insulating polymer. They had gone barely 24 meters when the silent pressure of the ice walls shifted. Heat signatures flared to life on Corbin's wrist. "Scanner. Ambush," he hissed, whipping out his stunner pistol. A handful of mercenary rifles emerged from alcoves carved in the ice. Cold breaths fogged in the lamplight. Hand over the shard, barked a lean woman in corporate black armor. Her voice crackled over a throat mic. "Do it, and maybe we let you live." Mira felt the shard pulse faster, fear, anger, desperation. She closed her eyes to steady herself, aligning her breathing with the ancient resonance. In, out, back away, Corbin growled. He raised his stunner. The mercs trained their rifles on him, finger on the triggers. Time slowed. Mira tapped her cane against the ice wall, sensing every ridge. She pivoted, guided by echoes, until she found a narrow fissure. "Dr. Corbin," she whispered. "This way. Follow me." Without pausing, she led him at a jog through the tunnel. Bullets shredded ice behind them, hailstorms of crystal shards cascading into the passage. Sparks skated across Corbin's boots. They burst into a larger cavern, heart-shaped and glacial. A downstream stream gurgled beneath a frozen ceiling. Myra felt the conduits hum in her palm here, close to the Citadel's hidden entrance. "Go!" she urged. Corbin tucked the shard under his arm as she tapped the far wall with her cane. A panel slid aside, and they dove through into a corridor, bathed in violet luminescence. The fissure sealed shut behind them with a hiss of hydraulics. Bonds forged in crisis panting, Corbin sank against the wall. That was too close. Myra pressed her palm against the shard again, seeking calm. A single word pulsed through her. Mind. Trust. Corbin looked at her, sweat beading on his brow. "I trust you," he said softly. "I never doubted you could do this." She opened her eyes. "They won't give up." We moved deeper. He nodded and rose, checking his scanner. "According to these glyphs, the central chamber is just ahead another few hundred meters." They set off. Corbin's boots squeaked on polished floors of ice-laminated glass. Every crack in the crystal beneath echoed like footsteps in an empty cathedral. Above them, pulsing glyphs etched by Korean hands glowed with dormant light. Portal chamber, they entered a vast, domed hall, its ice walls forming facets like a colossal gemstone. At the center lay a sunken dais encircled by concentric runes identical to those in the desert sanctuary. A great circular hatch, inscribed with the infinite spiral motif, dominated the far wall. Corbin swallowed. "This is it." Mira stepped forward, cane tapping twice on the hatch. She traced the spiral with her fingertips, feeling the glyphs hum in recognition. The shard in her pocket thrummed in response. Behind them, a low rumble shook the hall. Snow fell from the rafters as distant engines approached Republic troopers in armored skiffs, cutting through the ice overhead. Corbin's eyes widened. They made it past our diversion teams. Mira focused on the hatch's seams. "Help me fit the shard into the receptacle." He knelt at a small indentation beside the hatch and eased the shard into place. Immediately, the runes on the floor flared to life in icy blue. The hatch rose with grinding reluctance, revealing a swirling violet vortex beyond a transdimensional gateway laced with raw, Thran energy. Mira felt the surge through every nerve. Hope, home, and a profound longing. But behind them, the hatch. They entered through shattered as armored boots crashed into the chamber. Blaster fire danced over the crystalline walls. Dr. Corbin grabbed Myra's arm. "Through it!" he shouted. Myra hesitated only a heartbeat, then stepped into the vortex's glow, letting the Aaron promise carry her forward. Corbin followed. Threshold of destiny, the violet light swallowed them, and the world fractured into color and sound. Mira sensed no pain, only a gentle embrace as space folded around them. When the radiance subsided, she found herself floating in a vast hall of orbiting prisms and drifting orbs of light. The air tasted of starlight and possibility. She heard the Koran chorus behind her. "Welcome, guide of worlds." Corbin exhaled a stunned laugh. "We made it." Mira closed her eyes, letting the portal's warmth settle in her bones. "Yes," she whispered, "but this is only the beginning." Outside, through the gateway's swirling edge, the polar Citadel's icy bulk loomed behind them, its defenses in shambles now that its keepers had vanished. In the distance, Republic troopers scrambled at the frozen threshold. The cosmic storm pulsed overhead, a silent sentinel counting down the last hours before the galaxy's fate would be decided. But within the Con Hall, Mira Avanes felt a new certainty. She had been chosen for this moment, and no force, neither human nor cosmic, could turn her aside. As the gateway sealed shut with a whisper of light, she raised her hand, ready to heed the can call and guide her people into the stars. The Kran gateway shimmered like liquid starlight, folding reality around Mira and Dr. Corbin as they emerged into the heart of an alien world. The chamber they stood in was vast beyond comprehension, an endless rotunda of floating crystalline glyphs, each orb suspended in mid-air by a lattice of pale luminescence. The air itself tasted of ionized light, and every breath felt as though she inhaled pure possibility. The hall of living memory, Myra's fingers brushed the nearest orb, and it pulsed in response, ripples of color cascading across its surface like a miniature nova. Instinctively, she extended her other hand to steady herself against a hovering prism. Through the shard's residual resonance, she sensed an archive of millennia encoded in every filament of light. Dr. Corbin, his eyes wide with wonder, whispered, "This is their memory bank. Every Kong thought, every world they touched, recorded here." With care born of reverence, Mira placed her palm on a hexagonal glyph hovering before her. Instantly, the chamber flared to life. Murals of interstellar voyages, schematic overlays of crystalline engines, and transcripted melodies of Ken song. She felt the presence of the ancient builders guiding her hand, urging her to absorb their knowledge. A warm voice echoed in her mind, not spoken but felt. "Welcome, seer of sightless light." Mira's heart stuttered at the phrase's resonance. It was both greeting and destiny laid bare. Revelation of the maelstroms. "Origin Corbin," Myra murmured, her fingers tracing the flow of circuits etched into the nearest glyph. "The storm isn't random. It's engineered." He knelt beside her, reading data projections that bloomed in the air. These star charts show corridors, energy conduits woven between suns. They were once highways of modern travel, but here, this fissure. He pointed to a glowing tear in the charts, a rift spanning light years. Some civilization harnessed those conduits to weaponize stellar energy. Mira's pulse quickened. A cosmic hammer, the Kthran chorus intoned in her mind. Striking. The forge of life. The realization settled like ice, the whirlwind hurtling toward. Orbis Prime was no natural phenomenon, but the echo of an ancient war, its shockwave propagating through the very fabric of hyperspace. Dr. Corbin's face paled. If it reaches the inner systems, it could sterilize planets, collapse atmospheres, even rend stars from their orbits. Myra closed her eyes. The Kron voices swelled. Guide them. Teach them restoration. The weight of command pressed upon her, tempered by the empathy that had always been her greatest strength. The pursuers break through far behind them, across the void of space. And ice, Republic warships, and corporate interceptors had followed token traces of the Kron gateway. Docking clamps latched onto the portal's outer rim, and a surge of charging weapons rattled the crystalline hull. A thunderous clang echoed as armored boots stamped onto the transparent floor. Through the etheric walls, Mira glimpsed the silhouettes of cloaked soldiers, their energy rifles poised. Dr. Corbin's voice cracked. "They found us." Mira drew her cane from its holster, the metal tip now attuned to Catherine energy, and tapped it twice on the floor. The glyphs responded, projecting a shield of prismatic light around the chamber. Republic blaster bolts splintered harmlessly, disintegrating on contact. She turned to face the portal. "We must close the gateway," she said, her voice steady, with resolve. "If they cross over, they'll seize our knowledge and use it to hasten the storm." Working in tandem, Myra guided Corbin's hands over the locking sequence etched into the hatch's edges. Each glyph she touched glowed under her palm, as if recognizing its rightful keeper. The warding field flickered. The portal's surface roiled like quicksilver. With a final resonant chord, a note of farewell and warning, the gateway collapsed. Inwards, sealing itself with a silence more profound than any echo. A legacy to carry home for a moment, the chamber's light dimmed, and only the floating orbs remained, humming gently in the darkness. Myra reached out to one, letting its warmth soothe her racing heart. The Shan voice, softer now, whispered, "You carry our hope." Corbin placed a hand on her shoulder. "Myra, we have what we came for. We know how to stop the maelstrom, or at least weaken it." She nodded. "We must return at once. Orbis Prime and every world on that chart depend on it." Together, they retraced the corridor's steps, passing fissures in the crystalline walls that revealed pockets of Terran technology power cores humming in stasis, seed pods of alien flora waiting to be sown on barren worlds, and empty berths in star-worthy vessels. Each held a promise of renewal, but none so vital as the knowledge they now bore. Returned through the frozen wastes, reopening the Citadel's secondary portal a smaller maintenance aperture, they stepped back into the ice-choked corridor. On Orbis Prime, the world outside was unchanged, silent glaciers stretching beneath a pale sky, wind dusting snow across the rim of the hall. But every gust seemed laden with urgency. Dr. Corbin clutched the data crystal. They'd extracted the distilled essence of canned starship design and maelstrom dispersion algorithms. "We can broadcast this to every colony," he said, voice breathless. "Every research station, every academy." Myra's cane tapped rhythmically on the ice. "And I will speak for those who cannot see this danger. The governments will listen when they hear our unified warning and witness what awaits if they fail." The dawn of a new era, as they emerged into the polar dawn twin suns, cresting the horizon in pale fire. Myra felt a surge of emotion stronger than any vision. Hope. Orbis Prime's distant capital twinkled on the southern plains, unaware that its fate, and that of all sentient life, now hinged on the courage of a blind girl and her scholar ally. The current chorus lingered in her mind one last time. Guide them, restore the light. With the data crystal secured in Corbin's pack and the shard safely returned to Sanctuary Dome, Mira Avanes tapped her cane on the frozen ground, each echo a promise. She would carry the ancient's legacy into every council chamber, every lecture hall, every listening ear. For she was no longer merely blind, she was visionary, a beacon of the light no eyes could see. And in her hands lay the power to turn back the cosmic storm, to usher in an era of restoration, and to ensure that the alien artifact would never again be ignored.